Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Lily's Little Life Corner. I'm your host, Lily, and today I was hoping you would be able to see what that says. But it says parasocial relationships. If you guys can't see, I thought it would be clear, I thought that, but whatever. We live and we learn. But today, also, by the way, if you guys are listening in podcast format, I have redecorated my background. I have a neon butterfly that I got from Kath. So thank you, Kath. I had been wanting something for my background, and I had been looking at neon lights, but I wasn't sure, what kind of neon lights, and then this came in the mail for my birthday. It was a birthday gift, and actually in the next episode, hopefully, I will be able to talk more about some other birthday gifts that I'm really excited about, also from Kath. But yeah, so my background looks a little bit more, backgroundy. I also got this fan because it gets really, really hot when I film, because I have this light on, and then I also have my window open, so there's a lot of light coming in. I don't have my window open, but I have the blinds open. Yeah, so this helps cool me down a lot. So thank you, Kath, for these gifts. They're really, really helpful. I was really excited when I opened the box. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I am wearing my own merch. Look at her. This is the merch. It is the purple t-shirt, but to be honest, I don't know if this is because the way that I ordered it, I ordered samples, and that's why it's taking so long for me, and if it will take the same length for you guys if you guys order my merch, but I ordered samples months ago, before I went on vacation, and I went on vacation in July. It is now mid to late September when you guys are seeing this. I still have not received my tote bag. So I'm not sure if it's an issue with the tote bag and I'm gonna have to remove the tote bag from my merch collection, but I'm supposed to be sending these to Kath, and it's been months since the first item that I received, which was really quick, was my mug. I thought that would take the longest. By the way, this is a personal rant. I'm so sorry, but I thought the mug would take the longest, but it didn't. It got here right away. And then the next thing to come with the mug was the sticker, which the sticker is gigantic. It is so huge. And then the next thing to come in was a t-shirt. It's a white t-shirt for Kath. And then the next thing to come in was, and this t-shirt came along with the white t-shirt. The next thing to come in was a sweatshirt, which came in, a month ago. So that also took pretty long, and then I'm still missing the tote bag. So it might have to be a thing where I have to remove the tote bag, or I might just have to find a new merch company to do merch with. But I have designs brewing in my head, which I will talk about in the next video if you guys are interested, because in the next video I'm going to get a lot more personal. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't know if the merch for me is taking so long because I ordered it through samples, and that's why it's taking so long. Maybe they're scared that I'm gonna sell the samples, and that's why they're making it take so long. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if it'll take less time if you guys order it through my website, but if you guys do order my merch, definitely do let me know how long it takes to ship. I was told it would take a month at most, and obviously we are over a month right now, but anyway, speaking about my merch really quickly, it is nice and thick and very warm, which I might have to change out of, I'm not gonna lie, because it's a little too warm, but I wanted to wear it just to show you guys how it looks like. Obviously, I'm stretching it right now and it still holds up. I want to see how far I can stretch it, actually, because this is my own personal merch. I can stretch it pretty far and it still looks pretty good, as you can see, and the colors are just as vibrant as when I first made it. So I'm really happy with the quality. I'm just not happy with the shipping times. But again, if you guys order merch, let me know how long it takes for you. Also, this has been washed and it looks brand new. Like, it looks like I haven't washed it, right? Because sometimes merch companies, they lazily print the design onto the shirts, and then when you wash it, it starts to fade off. But this has held up. Okay, but anyway, getting on to the episode, which is about parasocial relationships. I wanted to talk about parasocial relationships actually for a while now, and I actually filmed this video already, but it was, I don't know if you guys remember, but I filmed outside for a couple of videos. And so that's when I filmed this video initially. However, because it was getting really late at night, I was trying to rush and I was mumbling and slurring over my words. And I tried to, move past it and be like, okay, whatever. I need to get this episode uploaded. But there was a lot of times where even I have notes and I was reading straight off of my notes, but even I was like, wait, what am I saying right now? Because I was mumbling so much and trying to slur my words, because it was getting very late and it was getting very dark. And actually at one point I go out of focus because I try and move the camera to show you guys a cat that had made it onto my porch. So yeah, it was a mess. So here I am refilming it. So it's been a couple of months. I filmed this initially and wrote the script in June, and it is again now mid to late September. So some of the information might be a little bit outdated, but I still thought it would be valuable to talk about the parasocial relationships. So let's get into it. So I initially got this idea from K-pop, as I do. There's a lot of things going on in the K-pop community that I'm always like, this would make a great podcast episode, because a lot of the times it's things happening in K-pop that also happen outside of K-pop, right? So for example, my self-sabotage episode that I also got from K-pop happens with everyone, not just celebrities, but everyone. It happens to you and me. And this parasocial relationship, it happens not just to K-pop idols, it happens to celebrities, and it also happens to YouTubers, influencers, people who post online and have some sort of relationship with followers that they don't really know. So that's why I thought it would be great to talk about in this episode, because it is a widespread kind of phenomenon that happens pretty much everywhere. Anyone who has some sort of presence in the collective, right, they are bound to suffer really from parasocial relationships. And because I got the idea from K-pop, I wanted to start off with K-pop. So in June, we'll just say, so that I don't have to give exact dates. In June, there was a K-pop idol named Karina, and she is in the group aespa. Now, aespa went viral for their AI sort of concept where they got plastic surgery. This is gonna sound super shady, but they got plastic surgery to look more like AI characters, like anime sort of cartoonish, unrealistic sort of beauty, right? So they have the super sharp chin. They're gorgeous, but this is their concept, right? So that's how they went viral, is that they looked unreal. And I mentioned plastic surgery not to be shady, but to remind everyone that they look unreal because they are unreal, right? They had to achieve this beauty through plastic surgery. But that's how they went viral. And so a lot of people started, listening to their music. Their music is not bad. I personally prefer their mid-release music. So not the music at the beginning and not their latest music, but the music just kind of right in the middle, which a lot of people do prefer because that was kind of their peak. Their most recent music is also kind of a lot of people are having some debates over their most recent music, but they became a top K-pop group, and a lot of people, as fans tend to do, started making assumptions about the K-pop idols. And these weren't like bad assumptions, right? This wasn't like people saying, oh, well, I think Winter is a drug dealer or whatever. Like, they made assumptions about the K-pop idols that weren't bad. They were just assumptions. One of the biggest assumptions that kind of ran rampant in the fandom was that Karina was a secret lesbian. So imagine the surprise of a lot of her fans when she started dating a male actor. A lot of people were like, I can't believe that she would date a man. How dare she date a man? Why would she queerbait us into believing that she was a lesbian? You know, and all this other kind of stuff. And when I was watching it, I was thinking, like, this is on you guys. Karina never told you that she was a lesbian. You just assumed that she was a lesbian. And yeah, it is, you know, it is a problem when idols and celebrities purposefully interact with certain genders to appear a certain way, only for them to not like have that sexuality at all. But at the same time, there's very minimal cases where you can prove that a celebrity or an idol is straight and was queerbaiting, because a lot of the times you don't know people's sexuality. So Karina might be bisexual, right? She might have not been queerbaiting, and she might have been interacting with women in that way because she actually is attracted to women, but she also is attracted to men, so that's why she dated a man. So you can't really like decide, is this person queerbaiting, is this person not queerbaiting, unless it's like a show, like characters in a show where the writers are purposefully trying to bait their queer audience into watching them, but they don't want to commit to making their characters queer. That would be queerbaiting. But you can't call out a real life person for queerbaiting when you don't know their actual sexuality and you're just making assumptions either way, right? Like whether they are or they aren't. So that was the first kind of issue of a parasocial relationship. And this is something that happens so much. Like this has been happening since I can remember, okay? I started my kind of fandom experience with One Direction, and I remember being in 6th grade, and this was back in 2011, okay? I remember being in 6th grade, and I was at recess, and it was September 13th. Okay, if you guys are a Directioner, you know what September 13th means. But I had no idea that One Direction existed. I had heard some people kind of, you know, talk about One Direction negatively, specifically from boys in my class who were like, oh, One Direction is so gay, right? But I remember seeing this group of girls that were like in a circle and they were trading bracelets. And so I walk up to them and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, because, you know, some of them were my friends as well, so I was trying to see, like, what's going on? What are my friends doing with these bracelets? Can I have a bracelet, you know? And they're passing around this Irish flag bracelet, like this bracelet of an Irish flag. And so I'm like, oh, what is that? And they were like, it's Niall's birthday today. And I was like, oh, who's Niall? Like, I have no idea. So they told me, you know, it's a member of One Direction, and we really like One Direction, and we're celebrating his birthday. And so then a boy comes over, and he's like, One Direction is so gay, like, they touch each other's butts. And at that point, I had, like, an inkling of an idea what gay was. Like, I was so sheltered that I didn't even know what being gay truly was. So I was just like thinking, they touch each other's butts? Like, that's kind of gross. But I wasn't thinking like being gay is gross. I was, because, you know, I didn't really know what that was. But anyway, moral of the story is one of the girls there said, yeah, they are. Louis and Harry are gay. And they're gay for each other. But that's why we love them. And that started my years-long deep dive and spiral into this phenomenon called Larry Stylinson, which I will be making a video essay on, because Larry's are unhinged. I just gotta say, first and foremost, as a former Larry myself, you guys are unhinged, especially if you're still Larry in the big year of 2025. A lot of you guys are not gonna know what the fuck I'm saying right now because you're thinking, like, what is a Larry? What is that? Don't worry, I will be making a video essay about that for sure. I know I still have a video essay to do. I will talk about it in the next episode if you guys are curious about the status of my video essay, because my birthday is approaching and there is no video essay to be seen in the near future, but I will talk about it in the next episode, okay? But anyway, that's how long assumptions of celebrities' sexualities have been going on in my own personal life. It has been going on for even longer. Even during the days where people didn't really assume that people were gay, like the whole status quo was, I'm assuming everybody is heterosexual. Even back in those days, there were like whispers of celebrities being a little bit, how do you say, indecent, right? To use the terms back then. Obviously, being gay is not indecent, but those are, I remember watching The Crown, and that was, similar phrasing that they used to describe being gay back in the day, back in the I think 1960s it was. But yeah, like even back then there were assumptions of people being like having a certain sexuality that they themselves did not say, I am this sexuality, right? But anyway, that Karina thing was the first sort of parasocial relationship type of deal where a lot of her very parasocial fans were assuming that she was a lesbian, and then when she dated a man, some fans I remember were like, oh guys, don't worry, she can still be bisexual, like we have not lost hope. And other fans were straight up like, Karina, how could you do this to us? And some of those fans, I will say, some of those fans were saying, Karina, how could you do this to us, because they were men and they were hoping that Karina would never date anybody, right? Because there's a lot of men who are fans of K-pop idols, not because of the music, but because of the potential that there is to date them. Whether that potential is actually there or not is to be decided, right? But a lot of male fans of female K-pop idols aren't really in it for the music. They're in it for the relationship potential. So it was just a mess of parasocial whatever all around. And then in June, Karina backstory, okay? In Korea, back in June, there were elections going on, and they were pretty controversial elections because Korea had just impeached its former president. And this was former president as in, like, was currently president and then got impeached, and so then they needed to have new elections, right? These were kind of like, not surprise elections, but out of the ordinary elections because it was so controversial. And their former president, who is now in prison, was a conservative president, and he tried to impose martial law. The citizens protested, got the president impeached and in jail, and so they were holding elections to see who their next president would be. And obviously, because the former president, who is now in jail, was conservative, is conservative, a lot of discussions about conservative and liberal candidates were going on, where a lot of liberal leaning, leftist leaning citizens were fighting with conservative and right-wing leaning citizens, right? And there was a lot of fighting, there was a lot of discourse, a lot of arguments, a lot of campaigning especially. So these were very, very controversial elections. Also, for context, in Korea, if you are a celebrity, you are not allowed to show any sort of support for your preferred candidate or for whoever candidate you want to vote for, which is different than here in the United States. And I kind of wish it was the same here in the United States, because a lot of candidates, presidential, mayoral, government, senators, whatever, candidates will have a celebrity endorse them so that they get more public support, because a lot of the times if your favorite celebrity endorses a political candidate, you're less likely to do your own research and you're more likely to go along with whatever your favorite celebrity is saying, right? So Korea, I think a lot of people were complaining about this when this whole situation came about, that Korea did not allow its celebrities to publicly endorse a candidate, but I personally think that's the way it should be. You shouldn't be swayed based off of who your favorite idol is voting for. I don't think that's something that you should do, right? So I really like this about Korea. But anyway, so these are kind of the rules, right? You're not allowed to show any sort of endorsement towards political candidates. Now, Korea's political parties are unique in the sense that they have an assigned number and color. And I think during these last elections, it went from 1 through 9. So there were many different political parties that were running, but generally the number 1, so if you just the number 1 is shown to support liberal, left-leaning parties, plural, right? There's many different parties, but if you show like a 1, it means that you're typically liberal or left-leaning. If you show a 2, it means that you're typically conservative or right-wing leaning, right? Same with the color blue. It's typically shown to support the liberal side, and the color red is typically shown to support the conservative side. So even if your political party has a different color or a different number, if they are conservative, you would typically be kind of grouped in with the color red and the number 2, and if your political party was more liberal or leftist or progressive, you would typically be grouped in with the color blue and the number 1. So now that you know the context, let's talk about Karina. Karina posted a picture mid-elections, like campaigning, voting, still mid-controversy, like heightened controversy. She posted a picture with a black and red jacket, and there was a number 2 on the front, and she, had her hands in her pockets in one picture, and then in another picture she had the peace sign up. Then in the caption she had a red rose, which is also symbolic of the Conservative Party of Korea. And so people were like, this is 3 for 3. She has the color red in her jacket. She has the number 2 in her jacket, and she's doing a peace sign, which is, the number 2 also. And she also has a red rose in her caption, like she is conservative. And this stirred up a lot of controversy with people saying, oh my goodness, she is conservative. And then even some people were bringing up the whole like lesbian, bisexual thing with Karina, and a lot of people were saying like, you guys were so blind to Karina that you didn't even notice that she actually looked very uncomfortable whenever people would bring her the lesbian flag. And so some people, showed videos that previously had been used to support the fact that she was a lesbian, and now we're twisting the context to show that no, like she was always uncomfortable with being seen as a lesbian. You guys just didn't see it because you were so blindly supporting her and so blindly assuming that she was a lesbian and that she was part of the LGBTQ plus community, when in fact she wasn't, and she was uncomfortable. Some people brought up her conservative upbringing and how she was Catholic and part of a very conservative family, and how it was no surprise that she herself was also conservative. Some people were talking about how awful it must be for Ningning and Giselle to be a part of a group with Karina, who seemingly does not support immigrants, and Ningning and Giselle are Ningning is from China, Giselle is from Japan, so they are on work visas in Korea. They're not Korean citizens. So a lot of people are thinking like, it must be so awful for them to know that Karina is against immigrants and immigration, and having people like foreigners is what is the word that was used. Having foreigners work in Korea, like she is so against that, and yet she has two bandmates that are foreigners working in Korea. So it was just a whole mess of things. It was an entire conversation happening where people were like, how dare you, or I already knew this, you guys should have known this too. Essentially, more people making assumptions as well. Now, my own personal opinion is she should have known better, number one, or number two, she did know better and she posted that anyway to show her support, because also, like I said, a lot of male fans are fans of aespa because of those sort of misogynistic thoughts that are kind of running rampant amongst the male population in Korea. If you guys look at the statistics of who voted for the conservative restricting women's rights party, it was majority, I think it was 70% of males between the ages of 18 to 24, around that demographic. I'm not sure the exact age, but like early 20s, 70% of men in their 20s voted for the Conservative Party that also restricted women's rights. So, yeah, which also brought into conversation that a lot of male idols also voted that way, and a lot of male idols kind of made themselves appear to be feminists or, you know, for women's rights, and yet they probably behind closed doors voted for a party that restricts women's rights. So it was an entire conversation going on around the elections in Korea because of those statistics, but also because of not only what Karina posted, but also how different idols would censor themselves. So for example, the peace sign is a very like normal thing to do when you're posing, right? A lot of idols will be like posing with peace signs and, you know, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Some idols, like, I remember on a live stream, one idol was counting or saying like one person or whatever she was saying. She said one and she held up the number one with her finger, and then she had to really like scramble and like hide her finger and be like, oh, I'm sorry. And so some idols, they will accidentally do a number one or a number two, and then they will start counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? To kind of show like, I did not mean to support any party. So there was just a lot of conversation going on around the election season, but I do remember that particular conversation about Karina that was very, in my opinion, parasocial, because a lot of fans were also saying like, well, you guys just don't know her, like this was an accident. And in my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of aespa. I like their music, but I'm not like in the fandom, right? In my own personal opinion, I was thinking like, it's still awfully ignorant of her to not know anything, right? And she's just like decided, oh my god, I look super cute in this jacket, I'm gonna post a really quick picture of myself in this jacket, not knowing or not being aware of the election season, which again, need I remind you, was highly televised, not only in Korea itself but internationally, because these were elections, like not necessarily unprecedented elections, but pretty much unprecedented, right? There was just a lot of conversation going around in, again, not only in Korea but also internationally about Korea and what had happened there. So in my own personal opinion, it still would have been absolutely dumb of her if she truly did not know what was happening and she like posted that picture anyway, right? Like, what do you mean you don't know what is happening? Surely your company would have pulled you guys aside and been like, hey, just by the way, election season is coming, remember, please do not show your support for any candidate. If you guys put up a peace sign, quickly apologize, or try and distract and deflect. If you guys put up the number 1, deflect, right? Make sure you're not supporting, because like, if it is that cutthroat, for lack of a better word, in Korea around election seasons, that these idols are having meetings every time election season comes around to make sure that they remember to not endorse any parties, because that is not something that you should do as a celebrity in Korea. I'm not sure if it's like a law or if it's just like common courtesy kind of thing, because I don't remember Karina getting into legal trouble for posting that picture, but then again, she did apologize and claim ignorance, so maybe the Korean government was like, oh, no worries, like, it was an accident, just make sure to not do it again, right? But just in general, I don't think she did not know. But I wanted to talk about this issue in K-pop, because this is a really, really big issue in K-pop in general, where a lot of fans are encouraged to have these parasocial relationships with their K-pop idols. And that is because the companies will kind of force the K-pop idols, and just the culture around K-pop idols in general will kind of force the K-pop idols to have this sort of parasocial relationship with people that they don't know, right? So there's a thing called fan calls, where idols get on their phone and they have 1-minute calls with their fans, and a lot of fans will, there was one particular idol suffers from this a lot, and he will sit there and he will talk to fans who show up in wedding dresses, or who try to propose to him, or who use shitty pickup lines on him, and he is not allowed to be like, he's not allowed to show any sort of disappointment or any sort of disgust towards those fans, even though the sane people know that he feels a certain way about these fans, but he is not allowed to show any sort of negative feelings towards these fans. He's supposed to kind of play along with it and kind of like brush it off and be like, haha, oh my god, yeah, like, you're in a wedding dress, oh my god, so funny, or like, oh, you tricked me into saying that I was yours, oh no, right? He that's what he is supposed to do. That's what he gets told to do, because he's not allowed to deny those sort of advances. And so it does become kind of breeding ground for these parasocial relationships, where, even Karina herself suffered with this when she was dating a man. Like I said, a lot of people were sending her death threats and sending her boyfriend death threats, and they lasted, I think, only a few weeks before they had to break up, and Karina had to issue an apology for dating this man, right? Which is why a lot of idols will date in secret, and a lot of idols will not make their relationship public. But sometimes their relationship gets outed, and so they have no other choice but to either confirm or stay silent or apologize for dating. And a lot of these idols that do get caught dating do have to issue an apology for dating, because their fans, again, are encouraged to have this sort of parasocial type of relationship with them, where the fans believe that they are in a relationship, like a romantic relationship with these idols, to the point where Karina, in her apology, she had to say, I am grateful for your guys' love, I'm so happy that you guys are fans of me, and I'm so sorry this will never happen again, because a lot of fans were saying, is our love not enough? Why do you feel the need to find love outside of your fans, outside of your fandom, outside of us who love you so much? Our love should be enough. You should not want to seek romantic relationships. And that to me is crazy. But really it's being caused by these companies. Again, in June, there was a company called RBW Entertainment, and they released an app, and now it's been, rescinded, but they released an app where they had AI versions of their idols, and these AI versions of their idols would chat with their fans. And if you paid extra, you could chat sexually with the AI versions of your favorite idols. And so that obviously caused a lot of controversy because it would put the idols in danger, right? Imagine a lonely fan who is a really big fan of this idol suddenly chatting sexually with an AI chatbot that resembles their favorite idol so much to the point where they start to blur the line between reality and fantasy. We talked about AI psychosis in a previous episode of mine. I think it was the one before this one, where we were talking about Kendra, the woman who fell in love with her psychiatrist, and how she most likely probably is going through AI-induced psychosis because her AI chatbots are validating a lot of things that just are not true. So imagine that, but instead of the AI chatbot validating your opinions that are false, the AI chatbot is a celebrity that you really, really like. Suddenly, your AI psychosis could potentially lead you to do very dangerous things towards the idols you say you love. And so, again, like I said, now it's been rescinded. The company issued an apology and said that they would not be releasing the app the way that they initially said. I'm not sure if they will be releasing the app at all, or if they're like remodeling it or redesigning it so that it's different. But either way, like, if they keep the AI chatbots, it still is going to be very dangerous. Also, I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice, but I am a little bit sick. I don't know how I got sick, but I am sick. I have more of a lisp today than I normally do, and also my nose feels a little bit stuffy. But anyway, let's move on away from K-pop, because I've been talking about K-pop for 40 minutes now, so let's move on from K-pop. One of the things that I have talked about on my channel before in relation to parasocial relationships is Watcher Entertainment. So if you guys don't know, Watcher Entertainment is a entertainment company on YouTube whose founders, that sounded very, my accent went a little bit crazy there, but the founders of the channel are Stephen Lim, Ryan Bergara, and Shane Madej, and they are really popular because they were on BuzzFeed. So Stephen Lim was with Andrew Ilnicki, and they did, what's it called? They did a show called Worth It, and then more famously, Shane Madej, I almost said Cheyenne. Shane Madej and Ryan Bergara did a show with BuzzFeed called BuzzFeed Unsolved. It was BuzzFeed Unsolved True Crime and BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural. These got hundreds of millions of views combined. Both shows got hundreds of millions of views combined on BuzzFeed. So these creators were really, really popular. And when they left BuzzFeed, they created their own entertainment company, kind of similar to BuzzFeed, where they would be uploading videos of, them doing different things and whatnot. And it was, in general, very well received. A lot of the shows that they had on their page were also really well received. One of the first shows that they had on their channel, and the reason why I found out that they even had because I used to watch BuzzFeed Unsolved and BuzzFeed both supernatural and true crime, and so I was a really big fan of that show, but I did not know that I knew that they had left BuzzFeed, but I did not know that they had created their own entertainment channel until I came across a video of them doing a show called Puppet History, and it was the first season of Puppet History, and so I watched it and I was like, this is really fun. Actually, I have something to show you guys. The titular character of Puppet History is obviously a puppet. He goes by the name The Professor. Nobody really knows what his name is. Well, okay, we know now, but I'm not going to tell you what his name is. You guys have to watch it yourself. But he goes by the name The Professor. He loves jelly beans, and he looks like this. Okay, he looks a little bit better than this in the show. I got the janky version, the janky edition, which is, because Watcher Entertainment makes him, so a lot of the puppets that they had made did not turn out perfectly, and so they sold these at $15. Normally, the, like, normal, good quality, like, good looking professor, no offense, is $75, but obviously since this one was a little bit janky, a little bit funny looking, again, no offense, this was $15, so I bought the professor. But anyway, that was how I first found out about them, was through Puppet History. Puppet History is an amazing show. You guys should go watch it. But about a year ago, like a little over a year ago now, again, their channel had been doing really great. It started in 2019. They expanded to include shows like Are You Scared? Too Many Spirits, which Too Many Spirits was a more jovial show. It was a show of them drinking alcohol and reading scary stories. That's why it's called Too Many Spirits, right? And the show Are You Scared? Their fans would submit stories for them to read, and these were, scary stories, and you had to decide. Well, the concept at first was they would read either true or fake scary stories, and you had to kind of decide whether it was true or not. But then they switched away from that, and now they're only reading fake stories. They didn't really explain why, but some fans had made some assumptions. We're not going to get into that right now, but many assumptions were made. And then they included their top earning show, which is Ghost Files, and that is kind of a continuation of BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural, because they always claim that they preferred to do the supernatural just because they were able to joke more, whereas with true crime you can't really joke about that kind of stuff, and also they just shared that they felt very depressed about certain topics that they had to discuss, especially when it had to do with children, so they really wanted to move away from true crime, and to replace BuzzFeed Unsolved True Crime, they came out with a show called Mystery Files, which delves into mysteries, obviously not necessarily true crime, but there was, for example, one episode about a bank robbery. One of their more recent episodes was about a heist in London, so still true crime, but not like gory, kind of like the husband killed his wife, or, that kind of crime. But you get what I'm saying, like it was more lighthearted and they were able to joke around more. But like I said, about a year ago, they released a video that has now been deleted because it was received very, very poorly. It was a video, titled Goodbye YouTube or something like that. And they talked about how they had started on YouTube and they were really grateful for YouTube, but that they would be deleting all of their content off of YouTube and putting it behind a paywall where you only had to pay $6 a month to access. And they kind of framed it as like, guys, it's only $6 a month. Like, it is super cheap, it is super accessible, you will not regret it, you will be able to afford it, right? And so that rubbed fans the wrong way. First of all, the phrasing of that, people were like, $6 a month is still $6 a month, right? Just because it's only $6 doesn't mean that it isn't a recurring charge. Especially because their audience tends to be college aged. I think even like, given how popular Puppet History is, right? Puppet History is a show about history, and it's a more lighthearted, jovial, youthful type of show, it's no surprise that a lot of their audience is not only audience that grew up with them through watching BuzzFeed Unsolved, but also audience that is younger, that has just barely discovered them, or that has just barely discovered BuzzFeed Unsolved and are now moving over to Watcher Entertainment and watching shows like Puppet History or Too Many Spirits, right? Where it's more jovial, more youthful, more entertaining type of shows. And the fact that they would think that $6 a month is accessible to everyone was just a little bit like, okay, you're being a little bit tone deaf, number one, and number two, you also don't know your audience, because again, like I said, a lot of their audience is college aged. $6 for a college student is a lot of money, especially when a lot of college students are living either paycheck to paycheck or only have like $4 in their bank account, right? So a lot of their fans, rightfully so. And I mean, at the time, I was living with $3 in my bank account. Like, actually, I think at the time, I had just barely come out of paying debt because I was in a negative balance in my bank. Like, I had $0 to my name. Even like my retirement account was only at like $20. So I had zero money. And a lot of people were like, hey, this is not okay. Like, why would you do this? Why would you? And again, number two, they didn't just say, like, we're coming out with a subscription service that is $6 a month. They said, we are deleting everything. So all of our old content, all of our content that is already free on YouTube will no longer be free on YouTube because it'll be behind this paywall that you have to pay $6 a month to access. So that also was just like piled on, like, wait a minute. You're deleting all of your content off of YouTube and we won't even be able to go back and watch like the first seasons of Puppet History or the first season of Ghost Files, none of that. Like, you're taking it off completely. That doesn't make any sense, right? So a lot of people were complaining about that as well. But then came in the parasocial fans. The parasocial fans are not self-aware. A lot of the times when you yourself are parasocial, you're not aware that you're being parasocial, right? And so I was on Tumblr, and I still am on Tumblr, but particularly for this discourse, I was on Tumblr, and I had to unfollow a ton of people because a lot of people were being just absolutely insanely parasocial to the point where I was like, I can't even like look at your blog anymore. Like, I can't even like see your posts on my timeline without getting upset. Like, this is upsetting. I remember a lot of fans were saying like, you guys are being parasocial if you are mad at Shane, Ryan, and Steven for this move. You guys should support them in whatever they want to do. You guys should support them in whatever business move they want to do. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. You support your favorite creator in whatever they want to do, whatever venture they want to go down. If they truly are your favorite creator and if you like them for their personality, not necessarily for their content, then yeah, it makes sense to, support them. And if they pivot their content to talk about something different, then yeah, for sure, you support them, whatever. My issue came with the fact that they were calling us parasocial when they were the ones being parasocial, because this is objectively a bad mood. Like, not subjectively, objectively it's a bad mood. At the time also, a lot of studies had been coming out about how subscription-based services were just not making the companies as much money as they had hoped. right? A lot of companies were coming out with subscription-based services, like, now there's Paramount Plus, there's Peacock for NBC and, USA shows, there's Paramount Plus for CBS, there's Disney Plus for all Disney shows, there's Hulu, Spotify, Netflix, HBO Max. A lot of these companies, there had been a study coming out that a lot of these companies are actually losing money with subscription-based services, which is why a lot of these companies are now adding tiers, right? Where even though you're paying a monthly fee for Netflix, you're still going to get shown ads unless you go up a tier. If you pay more, then you're not going to get shown ads, right? Same thing with Spotify. If you're paying a subscription for Spotify Premium, oh, well, too bad. Now you have to pay a subscription for Spotify Premium Plus if you don't want ads. Because subscription-based services showed that they were actively losing money. So just in general, like financially, horrible decision. But even more so, like, it was a bad decision because they were isolating those fans like myself who only had $3 in their bank account, who were in the negatives, who owed a lot of money, right? Those college age students who couldn't even afford to buy a cup of ramen noodles. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were isolating those fans by saying, oh, don't worry, $6 a month is very affordable. And some of these fans that were defending them were kind of parroting that sort of rhetoric by saying, like, you guys have Hulu, you guys have Spotify, you guys have Netflix, you guys get a coffee every single day. All you have to do to be able to afford this subscription service, buy these, no offense, but buy these random YouTubers, is just quit your Hulu, quit your Spotify, quit your Netflix subscription, stop buying coffee every day, make your own coffee at home, right? It was giving like the whole millennials can't afford houses because they eat too much avocado toast. Like, that was the kind of energy that I was giving from these fans that were defending these, again, no offense, random YouTubers. Like, these YouTubers that the general public really didn't know about. Like, the only way that you know about these YouTubers is if you watched BuzzFeed Unsolved. And even then, a lot of the BuzzFeed Unsolved watchers did not move on to Watcher Entertainment. Watcher Entertainment has significantly less followers than the BuzzFeed Unsolved channels. So, really, like, random YouTubers, again, no offense, their most viewed video on Watcher Entertainment has 7 million views, which is a lot, okay, not knocking on that, but their most viewed video on BuzzFeed Unsolved has probably like 15-20 million views at this point, because BuzzFeed Unsolved is always doing like these marathons, these playlists, like always trying to put it into the circulation, like put it into the algorithm one way or another, right, by promoting it, stuff like that. And just people in general love the nostalgia of BuzzFeed Unsolved. And actually, during this conversation, a lot of people came out and said, we don't want better production. Like, your guys' production is awesome, Ghost Files looks amazing, but you guys don't have the same banter that we miss from BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural. We prefer how low-key BuzzFeed Unsolved Supernatural was versus how high-production Ghost Files looks. Because Ryan came out and said that he wanted to create more TV-style, TV-quality production shows, and that's why he wanted to move away from YouTube and get more money through doing a subscription-based service through their own streaming service. And so a lot of people were like, well, that's not what we want. Like, that's not why we watch you guys. We watch you guys because of your dynamic and because of your personality. We don't watch you because of the high quality production. In fact, the high quality production often makes your shows look a little empty, right? So that's what people were saying, and people were honestly sharing their opinions in a really respectful way from what I remember, where people were like, okay, listen, we love you guys, but this is a horrible decision. I don't know why you guys would do this. I don't know why you would think that this was a good idea. Like, this is not a good idea. Why would you do this? And a lot of their parasocial fans came out and defended them and were like, just cancel your Netflix. Like, be so for real. You guys can absolutely afford this new subscription service. You just don't want to because it's the Ghoul Boys and you guys hate the Ghoul Boys. And by the way, the Ghoul Boys is the nickname for Ryan and Shane. But yeah, they were just saying just out of pocket things when a lot of people also made the point that it's like, well, I'm not gonna can't like, even if I could afford a Netflix subscription, I would prefer the Netflix subscription over the subscription for Watcher Entertainment because Netflix actually has a massive catalog of items. Like, they have a ton of not only movies, not only TV shows, but like original TV shows, documentaries, a ton of stuff from a bunch of different genres, right? A bunch of different years, genres, directors, actors. Like, it's a vast catalog of things. And yeah, it's, more expensive. It's, I think last I checked, $12 a month. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have not had a Netflix subscription in years, right? Still, I can afford it now, and I still don't want a Netflix subscription because I just don't want to have to pay more and more so that I don't have, like, the whole point of me paying an initial subscription fee was to not have ads. Now you're telling me that I have to pay the subscription fee and still have to watch ads? No, thank you. I'm good, right? I'd rather do physical media, but anyway, that's besides the point. But my point is, a lot of people were saying, like, even if we could afford a Netflix subscription, we would prefer to go to Netflix over Watcher Entertainment because Watcher Entertainment doesn't have the vast range of shows. Like, they only have a few shows, and every single one of their shows, like, only lasts a month, right? Where they're uploading once a week, just like across the board. Doesn't matter what show, it's only once a week. Even their Ghost Files show, they used to do like Ghost Files new episode on Friday, and then a Ghost Files kind of debrief or breaking down the evidence type of show on Wednesdays, but then they changed that to do Ghost Files every other week, debrief in between those Ghost Files episodes. So now it's like over the course of 2 months, but it's still only one episode a week, right? And not even like one episode a week, because some people think Ghost Files is a different show than Ghost Files Debrief, like they're different shows. So it's like one episode of 2 shows every other week for both shows. So it's just not a ton of content, right? So that's what a lot of people were saying is like, you guys aren't uploading enough content for me to want to pay $6 a month to continue watching your content. And even though a lot of these parasocial fans were defending Ryan and Shane, particularly Ryan and Shane, because they painted Steven as some sort of like evil, money-hungry person. Like, it was really weird. It got really racist really quickly, which I guess contradicts what I said about like respectful conversations. At first, it was respectful, and then it got very racist, particularly towards Steven and Ryan, because Steven and Ryan are Asian. Okay, Ryan is half Japanese, half Mexican. Steven is full Malaysian, I think I think he's Malaysian. And so people were kind of painting Shane as this like poor little white man who can't make his own decisions, and these 2 evil Asian men were backhanding him, like forcing him into this deal of a subscription service, but which those are also like a type of parasocial fans. So it was just awful all around to see, like, on one hand, you have fans of these grown-ass men telling us that we should just be smarter with our money if we want to enjoy the content. Like, okay, this is what pissed me off. Racism obviously pissed me off. That's a given. The racism pissed me off. Of course. The other fans were also pissing me off because they kept kind of like treating the content of Watcher Entertainment as if it was worthy enough to pay $6 a month for. As if people should forego eating to Watcher Entertainment content. And don't get me wrong, okay? The Watcher Entertainment content, like I said, I love Puppet History to the point where I bought a plushie after they announced their streaming service. At like once they announced that it was going on sale for $15, like this was after this whole scandal, I ran and I bought this plushie because I love Puppet History so much and I love the professor so much. So their content is really good and it is very high quality in production. However, it is not worth $6 a month. Like, if I had to decide between food and that content, I would choose food every single time. Like, there's very little pieces of media where I would be like, okay, if it had to be between food and this piece of media, I will choose this piece of media. And I'm sorry, but Watcher Entertainment content comes nowhere near that, okay? If you guys are curious, my personal, like, if I had to go without food so that I could watch my favorite piece of media, it would be the Knives Out movies, for starters, okay? For starters, the next piece of media is Psych. The next piece of media is Leverage. Okay, so Watcher Entertainment comes nowhere near that level of, like, if I had to go without food to watch Watcher Entertainment, I'm going without Watcher Entertainment. You get what I'm saying? I prefer to eat food. But a lot of these parasocial fans were treating their content as if you should just not eat. Like, just don't eat if you want to watch this content. Because that's actually what a lot of people were saying, is like, if you order DoorDash, if you have a Dash Pass, which is, you know, the DoorDash subscription service, which, okay, so many companies are coming out with subscription services, okay? The subscription service for DoorDash is you get 20% off of every order, I think. And then you also don't have to pay for delivery fees, and you are able to get your food faster than other people or something. Again, I'm not subscribed to, I don't even use DoorDash, okay? The most that I use is Instacart, and that's to order groceries. So I'm not one of those people that has DoorDash and every single time I want to eat, I just go on DoorDash and pay an exorbitant amount of money to buy food. No, I eat what's at home, right? But a lot of these fans, a lot of these parasocial fans were saying, well, just stop getting DoorDash. Just stop getting DoorDash and pay the $6 a month. It's not that big of a deal. When it's like, no, but it is that big of a deal, because a lot of disabled people use DoorDash because they can't, you know, drive to get their groceries, or a lot of people are living in an area where it's very inconvenient to have to go get groceries, right? Some people don't have a car and they have to take the bus to get groceries, and they would rather DoorDash some groceries to their home or DoorDash them food. And even so, some people just do it for the convenience of it, right? And people shouldn't have to give up that convenience just to be able to pay $6 a month for content that is not worth $6 a month. Like, again, I love the Ghoul Boys. I bought the Professor plushie, $15 discounted rate, but I still bought it, okay? And I'm telling you, their content is not worth $6 a month, especially not how it was when they first announced it. Nowadays, now that they have more content and more like behind the scenes type of content, that's when I would say, like, okay, yeah, I understand paying $6 a month a little bit more. I don't fully understand it. I don't think anybody should be paying any amount of money per month for streaming services, but I understand it a little bit more if you pay $6 a month. Back then, though, I was like, are you crazy? Spending $6 a month for 4 videos 1 month? Like, spending $6 for 4 videos? Absolute insanity. Like, you are the worst person at spending money, you are super financially illiterate, you will be going broke within the next 2 to 3 years if you think that it is worth it to spend $6 for 4 videos that you used to get for free. Okay, you used to get these videos for free, and now you're paying $6 a month because you think it's worth it. Oh, $5.99 plus tax. By the way, I'm using $6 as kind of like rounding down, but it's $5.99 plus tax per month for 4 videos. And that, by the way, their production, yeah, it's good, but the content of it feels a little empty at times. No way in hell am I paying $6 a month for 4 videos, for YouTube quality videos, because yes, the production is high, but it's still YouTube quality. Like, I don't get what people aren't getting about people not wanting to pay that amount of money. Like, it was very, very stressful to watch and to be a part of, and to be a part of those discussions, and to watch so many people saying, like, just give up your coffee, give up your DoorDash, and like, sure, it is not financially literate to have a DoorDash or to have a Dash Pass. It's maybe not financially sound decisions to be getting coffee every single day, like a $5 coffee every single day. But again, some people do it for the convenience, some people do it for the enjoyment, some people do it because, it's a habit. And like, you really think that people would be giving up convenience, habit, enjoyment to pay $6 a month for 4 YouTube quality videos? And then you got angry when people told you, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving up convenience, enjoyment, food, and habit to pay for YouTube videos that I used to get for free. That should have been free, that should have stayed on the platform first and foremost, but also that I used to get for free. I'm not doing that. I'm so sorry, I'm not doing that, right? And then some people were, not to continue ranting about this, but this is about parasocial relationships, okay? Some of these parasocial fans kept, whenever people were telling them, like, I cannot afford it, which I was one of those people, I could not afford it. Again, my bank account was in the negatives, okay? Some people, if I had said, I cannot afford it because my bank account is in the negatives, those parasocial fans would have still told me, just cancel your Netflix, cancel your Hulu, cancel your Spotify. I had none of those, and I was still in the negatives. I would not have those if I was in the negatives, because I don't know if you guys have ever had a subscription when you were broke as fuck, but when you have a subscription and you only have like $2 in your bank account, your subscription payment doesn't go through. Or it does go through, and then suddenly you're like $10 in the negative. And then for the next month, it will not go through, and you will get incessant emails from Spotify or whatever telling you, hey, your payment didn't work. Hey, your payment. This has happened to me so many times in the past where I did not have enough money to cover my Spotify subscription, and every single time I would get an email, hey, your payment did not go through, update your payment details, and I wouldn't, and they would cancel my subscription anyway, right? Like, so it was like, I don't have those subscriptions, and yet I still cannot afford the $6 a month. Like, I don't know how you want me to spell this out to you, but I do not have the $6 a month that you're saying is super cheap and super accessible. It's not. Because I do not have them, and many other people like me do not have them, okay? That just made me so angry, seeing so many people being like, no, like, you absolutely can afford it. And I was like, no, I absolutely cannot afford them. I have no idea what world you're living in where you are able to afford that, but I cannot afford that. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly, and that is, actually, you know what? I don't feel comfortable talking about it anymore because it happened so long ago, and I don't even see her on my For You page, But so I'm not going to be naming names, but there was an influencer that had a podcast, right? And I used to see her on my For You page. She was a mommy influencer, which I already feel a certain way about mommy influencers, but this is a mommy influencer that I particularly enjoyed because she was spreading educational content and helping other parents out. But she had a podcast with her boyfriend, still no husband. It was a boyfriend, and this is, I'm not just being like, oh my god, they had a baby out of wedlock, right? I'm not doing that. I'm just like, this is important for later. It was her boyfriend, not her husband. They had a podcast together, and again, this happened back in June, so if you remember, then you kind of know who I'm talking about, but if you don't remember, that's fine. I don't want to name names because, again, this happened a while ago, and I haven't seen any more discourse on my For You page, but this was a mommy influencer who was talking on a podcast with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend said something about not wanting to marry her, and this influencer had talked previously about wanting to get married, right? And about having that conversation with her boyfriend about getting married. And also she shared the story time of how she met her boyfriend and how she was pregnant with a baby 4 months into the relationship with her boyfriend. And so people, obviously found that weird. Like, why would you? That's awfully quick, is it not? But she told them that it was planned, like they planned to get pregnant that quickly. And a lot of people were like, but you guys didn't even have like a chance to date. Like, you don't even know this man. This man is effectively still a stranger, and you're pregnant with his baby. Like, you don't even know, you have never lived with this man. You don't know if he has gross habits. You don't even know his friends like that either. Like, what if he has creepy friends that are gonna be coming around your baby? Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of concerns when having kids with essentially strangers. There's just a lot that you don't know about this person. So a lot of people, were raising concerns. And then there was a podcast episode where her boyfriend was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to marry you yet. And so that's when a lot of people were like, okay, wait a minute, I thought your guys' love story was a good love story, and I thought it was something that I wanted to aspire to, and I thought it was very romantic to fall in love with someone in 4 months and get pregnant in 4 months, and I thought it was fate. But now your boyfriend is coming off as really manipulative and really, what was the word that they used? Like, love bombing. Like, maybe this love story is not a love story, but maybe this love story is more like love bombing, right? It's a love bombing story. Because I have talked about this on my podcast episodes before. I'm so sorry. My nose is getting really stuffy. I told you guys I'm sick. But a lot of manipulators will reel you in with promises of a future, right? They will tell you, oh, like, I want to marry you, I want to have kids with you, I want to, treat you like a princess, I want to, do X, Y, and Z. And then when you're like really deep into the relationship, they switch and they're like, I actually don't know if I want to have kids. I actually don't know if I want to get married. Marriage is just a piece of paper. And like, why should we let the government decide what our relationship status is, And like, you're deep into the relationship to the point where your guys' names are both on the lease, or you guys have bought a house together, or you guys have kids together, something that ties you to this person, like, legally, and suddenly they're hitting you with the, I actually don't know if I want to do all that. I actually don't know if that's the kind of man I want to be, right? And so then you get stuck with this person. So a lot of people were seeing the red flags and they were saying, baby girl, I think your boyfriend is that kind of person. Like, first of all, he's telling you, no, I for sure will marry you. I for sure will, be forever in your life and be forever in our kids' lives. And I love this baby so much, and I love you so much. And it's only been 4 months, but I could see myself with you for the rest of my life. And then, like, your baby's now 7 months old, and suddenly this guy is sitting here like, I just don't know that I want to marry you. And I was just like watching this all unfold, just agreeing with everyone, being like, okay, this is number one, massive red flag. Number two, you're not sure you want to marry her? What? You guys were so in love, so sure that you would be in each other's lives forever, that you had a baby 4 months into your relationship. You purposefully got pregnant after only knowing each other for 4 months. And now you're sitting here on your couch. I'm trying to sit like he was. You're sitting here on your couch being like, I just don't know that I want to marry you. Me and the professor judging you. But yeah, it was a wild ride to have to go through. And then poor woman had to get on TikTok and be like, you guys, our love story is just like, you guys don't know how he treats me. Par for the course at this point. There are so many, and I'm actually going to talk about this in a later episode, but there are so many women that start out complaining about their husbands and then turn around and are like, no. You guys just don't know how he treats me behind closed doors. He loves me and I love him. And so people have just kind of gotten over it. It's like, okay, if you're gonna complain about this dude, don't defend him. He's not worth defending. But yeah, so she pulled one of those and people were like, girl, okay, don't say we didn't warn you, right? But anyway, I bring this up as a parasocial type of relationship because one woman was very weird about this, okay? Okay, I wrote verbatim what it was that her boyfriend said. So she says, it's a podcast episode, like I said, and she says, because she's answering questions, and somebody had asked them, like, are you guys getting married? And so she says, yes, we are getting married, like, absolutely, for sure we are. And so then her boyfriend interrupts her, because she was about to, like, continue on, like, yes, we are getting married, ... right? So he interrupts her and he says, no, we can't agree to a clear-cut yes. And then she kind of hesitates a little bit, thinks about it, and says, I would agree with that. That's what she says, I would agree with that. And so that's when everybody was like, okay, well, girl, you clearly want to marry him, but does he want to marry you? Like, have you guys even had a conversation about this? But anyway, the reason why I'm talking about this in a sort of parasocial manner is because, you know, obviously everybody has come out of the woodworks to analyze their body language, analyze their love story, like hyper analyze their love story. And someone posted a TikTok that I saved, but again, I'm not going to show you guys because I don't want to bring this kind of attention towards this influencer, especially since it happened in June, right? But there was a woman who posted a TikTok. So this woman posted a TikTok attacking this mommy influencer, which is the woman that I'm talking about, who, you know, said we absolutely are getting married, and then her boyfriend said no, we're not, right? So this woman attacked the mommy influencer because the mommy influencer posted a TikTok saying, and now keep in mind, her baby at the time was 7 months old. So the mommy influencer was replying to a comment that was saying, like, you guys look so happy all the time, like, I envy your family. It was, you know, along those lines of, like, you guys look so happy, I love that you guys are so happy, I wish I could live like you guys, that kind of thing. And so this mommy influencer replies and says, I don't feel passionate about anything. Like, I love being a mom, but I love it in a more sharing kind of way. Like, I love sharing being a mom more than I love being a mom. It's kind of how she worded it. And personally, I think she was wording it like a little bit off. Like, I don't think that's what she meant, but that's what it sounded like she meant. And so this woman, keep in mind, this woman only posted it after clips of this mommy influencer's boyfriend went viral. Like, after those clips of this mommy influencer's boyfriend came out where he was saying, like, I don't want to marry you, right? This woman, random woman, attacks the mommy influencer instead of attacking the mommy influencer's boyfriend. So off the bat, that was really weird to me, because it's like, we're talking about the boyfriend, we're not talking about the mommy influencer, number one. Number two, her baby is still a baby. Like, she very well could be suffering with postpartum depression, and that's why she was saying, like, I love sharing being a mom with you guys, I love sharing tips, but I don't necessarily love being a mom. Like, I don't necessarily love that kind of aspect, right? Like, I wrote here, parenting is mundanely hard. Like, when you're parenting, you're doing things every single day, all the time, right? It's a cycle, it's a routine. And some people, I'm so sorry, my nose is very stuffy. I'm gonna sound awful for these next few minutes. But some people, they don't really like routine, they don't really thrive off of routine, but babies thrive off of routine. So it's not like you can just be like, well, my baby won't have any routine. Your baby kind of has to have that routine, because they have to sleep during certain periods. Like, they have to sleep every 45 minutes when they're a newborn, or they're awake only for 45 minutes when they're a newborn. So they sleep for like 2 hours, and then they wake up, and then they have to go to sleep after 45 minutes again. Then you have to do tummy time consistently throughout the day, right? So for some people, that part of parenting becomes really, really hard, where you're like, I have to do this every single day at this exact time. Maybe not exact time, but like, babies become like I'm pointing at the professor as if he was my baby, but babies, they get hungry at around the same time every single day, right? Especially when they're babies. So they will cry around the same time. Think of like a cat, cats, when you're 1 minute late to feeding them, they're meowing at your door, or like, yowling for you to hurry up to feed them. Babies are kind of similar in that regard, especially when they're babies. Like, once they start to get into like the toddler type of age, that's when they start to grow out of it. But especially when they're babies, which at the time this mommy influencer's baby was still a baby, they start to cry when their routine isn't being fulfilled, right? So if they eat every single day at 5 o'clock, and then suddenly like it's 5:05 or 5:10, they're gonna start crying, and they're gonna be like, hello, I'm hungry, right? And humans, even like adults, we are like that too, where if every single day you eat at noon, if one day you don't eat at noon, your stomach is going to start growling, like you're going to start feeling like super hungry, because your body is kind of expecting a meal at noon, right? That has happened to me when I've gone on vacation, where I'm kind of like eating routinely every single day, or like especially when I was at school, and then we would go on summer break, and then I wouldn't eat, like I would sleep differently and eat at different times. My stomach would be like, I'm hungry, feed me please, right? And so babies are the same way. This is a long-winded rant to say that parenting is hard, especially because of that like mundanity, that having to repeat things, having to roll your baby over for tummy time, having to change your baby's diaper every single time that they poop or they pee, because if you don't, then they get a rash, right? And then if they get a rash, they're in pain, and then if they're in pain, then they start crying a lot. So it just becomes overwhelming, and I personally could understand where that mommy influencer was coming from when she said that she didn't necessarily enjoy parenting, and that she only looked happy because she only filmed like 1 minute of her life, right? And it was 1 good minute out of the other minutes of her day. And so this woman just randomly came out and attacked this mommy influencer. And this actually started now that I'm reading off my notes. This actually started because this particular influencer, this mommy influencer that I'm talking about, went viral for the way that she talks to her baby, which I feel like that gives it away of which influencer I'm talking about, but please don't send hate to this influencer if you guys figure it out, or this influencer's boyfriend, if you guys figure out who I'm talking about, because I don't want that. But this particular mommy influencer went viral because of how she talks to her baby. She talks to her baby as if the baby was an adult. I feel like there's a lot of influencers, like mommy influencers out there now, who are talking to their babies as if their babies were adults, particularly because of this mommy influencer who went viral for doing that. But there was another mom who, around this time that the scandal happened, went viral because she said that she does not talk to her baby, like, at all. Like, she will just kind of coexist with her baby in silence. And so a lot of people were like, oh my god, that's low-key abusive, like, you are not treating that baby right, like, that baby needs exposure, babies need to be talked to, which is true, babies need to be talked to. And so people obviously asked this mommy influencer who went viral for talking to her baby, like, what do you think? And so this mommy influencer was like, I feel really bad for this mom because I feel like maybe she has postpartum depression, like, I think we should all be more empathetic, like, everybody's parenting journey is a little bit different. Like, she was being very empathetic towards this mom who doesn't talk to her baby. And that's when clips of that podcast started resurfacing. So that also is parasocial, where it's like you're only talking about this situation, like you're only bringing up those clips because this mommy influencer shared an opinion that you did not agree with. Like, you were expecting her to bash another mom openly online, which, again, if you guys watch my previous podcast episode, you guys know that I'm against that in general, because especially, like, if somebody's going through a mental health crisis, the last thing that you should do is add more fuel to the fire to, like, prolong their mental health crisis, or when they're out of the mental health crisis, make them feel bad for whatever it is that they said. And postpartum depression is a very real issue where, like, you don't know that somebody is going through postpartum depression. Actually, shortly after this whole situation with this mommy influencer, there was a few moms that went viral for posting how nonchalant they seemed. Not nonchalant, but like how normal they seemed. I remember there was one TikTok, which I did not save it because it's a very vulnerable moment, obviously, but there was one mom who posted a video of her happily playing with her baby. She was, tickling the baby, she was, playing with the baby. And she posted in the caption, like, this was the night that I decided to take my own life. Like, this was the day that I decided to take my own life, and I'm happily playing with my baby. Like, nobody would have ever, if they had just seen me playing with my baby, nobody would have ever known that I was planning to take my own life. The only reason that I didn't is because my husband noticed that I was acting a little bit strange when it came time for me to start going through with that plan, right? So postpartum depression really is like, this mom who doesn't talk to her baby probably has postpartum depression, and nobody would ever know because everybody's so not only busy attacking her, but also they're not seeing the full picture, right? They're only seeing that one 30-second clip where she's like, am I in the wrong for not talking to my baby? And really, she was coming online for asking for advice, really, and being like, should I be talking to my baby? Because I don't talk to, whenever I'm in the room with my baby, I don't talk to them. And she clarified later that her partner does talk to the baby, so the baby isn't sitting in absolute complete silence, right? But when it's that woman's turn to take care of the baby, she will just sit the baby in front of a TV or in front of an iPad and just let them watch TV, right? And so she was kind of asking is that not the same as talking to your baby? And people were like, no, you really should talk to your baby. You're a horrible mother for not talking talking to your baby. But the baby, was talked to by other people, just not the mom. Which, again, to me, points to postpartum depression. And that's kind of what this mommy influencer was saying. Like, maybe she has postpartum depression, and I think we should all be nicer, because everybody's parenting journeys are different. And after that, like immediately after that, that's when those clips start resurfacing of her boyfriend being kind of an asshole to her. So it felt more to me like revenge, which does point to parasocial relationships. Anyway, that is my whole parasocial relationships episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I want to talk about how to prevent parasocial relationships. So I've often noticed that the more that you share about yourself, the more that people kind of get attached to the things that they can relate to. So let's say, for example, you are an influencer, you don't really share too much about your life. People aren't able to kind of like relate to you, they just like your content. Does that make sense? But then once you start saying like, oh, I'm vegan, then your vegan viewers will be like, oh my god, I'm vegan too, and they will latch onto that and they will be like, oh my god, so relatable, like give me some recipes, right? Or let's say you say like, oh, I love cats, so then the viewers that love cats will latch onto you and they will be like, oh my god, I love cats too, I'm so happy that you love cats as well. And then it starts to spiral. If you're like, oh, I love the color blue, your fans who now you have fans who like cats and who are vegan. And so then the fans who are vegan, like cats, and like the color blue, they will be like, oh my god, I'm vegan, I love cats, and I love the color blue too. And then suddenly, you share like, I don't know, maybe living is not the best example. Maybe you say like, I'm single and ready to mingle, right? Just any time that you share something that has people like kind of being like, I relate to you, that's when you need to start being careful, and that's when you need to start being like, I want to create some distance a little bit, like not too much distance, but like some distance to make sure that you guys know that I don't know you and you don't know me. You only know what I share with you, right? My nose is so stuffy. I probably sound really insufferable, but again, we're all just gonna have to deal with it, okay? Because I'm not refilming this episode. I don't want to get into the habit of filming episodes 3 times before I have to upload, because that is just not smart. But anyway, once you start to create more, or once you start to share more of your life and more of yourself, that's when more and more people are able to kind of latch on to, more and more things that you share. So that's when you really need to be careful. And that's personally the best way that I found. And then once, like, if people start saying like, oh my god, I feel like we're on FaceTime, or I feel like you're my friend, that's when you really need to put a stop to it, because like, we're not friends. And if you feel like we're on FaceTime, if you feel like, I'm your friend, I'm FaceTiming you and gossiping with you, that then creates like the opportunity for those fans, for those viewers to latch onto that and to be like, oh, this is my friend. Like, because again, your brain doesn't really know the difference between like, this is an influencer, you don't know this person, and this is my friend. So you really need to be like reiterating, we are not friends. I know you may feel like we are on FaceTime, but again, we are not friends. I've seen a lot of like TikTok influencers in particular, when they receive those comments, they're like, yes, bestie, like we're besties, you're my friend, I love you, like yes, I would FaceTime you if I knew you, right? That kind of thing. They're feeding into that relationship. So if you feed into the relationship, you're more likely to have that kind of parasocial type of relationship. I'm joking. I don't know how I got sick, but I did get sick. Again, I'm so sorry for my voice if it was particularly annoying. I'm sick. But anyway, that'll be all for this episode. So again, like I said, my advice, do not feed into those parasocial relationships. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this topic and how you feel about parasocial relationships, and maybe do you think that you are in a parasocial relationship with an influencer? Do you feel like you could be friends with an influencer? Because if you do, maybe you have a parasocial relationship with that influencer, you know? Let me know what you think about this topic, and I will see you guys in my next video, in my next episode, sorry. Again, my next episode will be a little bit more personal, which I know I'm just making a video about parasocial relationships and how you should avoid parasocial relationships, and then I'm making a video that would kind of feed into the parasocial relationships. Bear with me though, okay? Anyways, I will see you guys in my next episode. Not sure when that will come out, but it'll come out when it comes out, okay? And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye!